Welcome back to my YouTube channel, treasure seekers and coin collectors, to another incredible dive into the world of rare coins and astonishing values. If you've ever thought a penny couldn't change your life, think again, because today's story might just be the one that proves you wrong. This is not just a tale about a coin, it's a journey into a moment in American history, a twist of fate, a story that involves luck, mystery, and millions. Yes, we're talking about the humble 2009 1-cent coin that, against all odds, ended up being worth a jaw-dropping $404 million. Get ready to go deep, because this isn't your typical coin story. This one has everything: rare errors, bizarre circumstances, and a twist so strange, even seasoned collectors didn't see it coming. The year was 2009, and the United States was celebrating the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the centennial of the Lincoln cent. To honor this milestone, the U.S. Mint released 4 different reverse designs representing different stages of Lincoln's life, from his birth and childhood in Kentucky to his presidency in Washington, D.C. It was a special year for the penny, and collectors were already buzzing with excitement. But what no one knew at the time was that one particular version of that 2009 penny would go on to make history in the most unexpected way. It started, as many great stories do, with a mistake. Somewhere deep within the minting process at the Denver Mint facility, a combination of timing, pressure, metal, and human oversight created a coin unlike any other. This wasn't just any penny. It had all the markings of the 2009 presidency reverse design, the final of the 4 that year, but the coin had anomalies no one had ever seen before. On the surface, it looked like a normal penny to the average person. But to a trained eye, something was very, very off. It wasn't just the texture of the coin that raised questions. The copper plating had an unusual luster, not like the standard 97.5% zinc composition with a copper coating, but something different. There were strange raised lines on Lincoln's jacket, and the dome of the Capitol building on the reverse had subtle, ghost-like doubling that didn't match known double-die varieties. Even more bizarre, a forensic analysis of the metal content revealed an unintentional alloy combination that had never been documented in modern U.S. coinage. The coin surfaced at a small coin shop in a Colorado suburb when a boy brought in a handful of pocket change to exchange for cash. The store owner, an old collector named Mel Griffin, almost didn't notice it. It sat in a glass bowl of common sense for nearly 3 days before he casually sifted through them during a slow afternoon. At first glance, he thought it was just a slightly misaligned die strike, fairly common and not usually worth much. But something kept nagging at him. The weight felt off. The edge was sharper than it should have been. He pulled out his scale. Then a magnifier. Then his loop. By the end of the day, he had already called 2 coin experts he trusted and asked them to fly in. Word began to spread quietly in the numismatic underground. Experts from the American Numismatic Association were brought in to examine the coin under electron microscopes and high-resolution scanners. Spectroscopic analysis confirmed the presence of trace metals not typically found in 1-cent coins. How had they ended up there? Was it contamination, or was this coin something else entirely? Some theorized that it was struck on a foreign planchet, perhaps a leftover from a different coinage run, like a blank meant for a South American coin series that shared minting contracts with the U.S. Mint. But that didn't explain the additional anomalies, like the hidden micro-engraving beneath Lincoln's collar that, when magnified 100 times, revealed characters no one could decipher. They weren't letters or numbers. They weren't mint marks. Some even claimed they were mathematical symbols, but their meaning remains unknown to this day. As news leaked to wider circles, private collectors began making offers. At first, it was modest, a few $1,000s, then tens of thousands. But after a prominent auction house authenticated the coin and showcased it at a numismatic expo, the offers skyrocketed. One anonymous buyer offered $4 million. Another matched it and offered a vintage Rolls-Royce Phantom in addition. Then, a consortium of rare artifact investors from Europe made an offer that stunned the community: $404 million in assets and cash, including an island in the Mediterranean. Why so much for a penny? That's the mystery. Beyond the rarity, beyond the metal composition, there was something else, a belief that this coin held secrets yet undiscovered. Some speculated it was a prototype for a secret mint experiment, an unauthorized test of new anti-counterfeiting technology. Others suggested it was minted deliberately by a rogue engraver who embedded a code into the coin, possibly revealing locations of hidden assets or historical documents. A few even believed it was cursed or blessed, depending on which side of the debate you stood. The U.S. Mint, for its part, was silent. Their official statement declared that the coin was likely an anomaly caused by a combination of environmental contamination and miscalibration of minting equipment. But internally, sources later revealed that a special team was formed to investigate the coin's origin. Freedom of Information Act requests were stonewalled. Internal memos leaked. Something wasn't adding up. Meanwhile, Mel Griffin, the humble shop owner who first noticed the coin, found himself at the center of a whirlwind. He refused most interview requests, avoided the spotlight, and moved to an undisclosed location. The last confirmed sighting of him was at a private plane hangar where he reportedly boarded a jet bound for Zurich. As for the coin itself, it was sold quietly, far from the public eye. But that didn't stop the legends from growing. To this day, coin forums across the globe buzz with rumors. Some say there's a second coin, struck from the same mysterious die. Others believe the original was swapped out by a government agent and that the coin in the private collection is a duplicate. A few extreme theorists claim the coin contains nanotech, embedded sensors or coded data designed by a government agency. All of these remain unproven, but one thing is clear: the 2009 1-cent coin that fetched $404 million is unlike anything the coin world has seen before. This story serves as a powerful reminder of the unpredictability and wonder that still exists in our everyday lives. Imagine the countless coins you pass through your hands each year. What stories do they carry? What secrets are they hiding? What if the next priceless coin isn't in a museum, but in your own change jar? Collectors have since scoured thousands of rolls of 2009 cents in search of any sign of a similar anomaly. Some found pennies with mild doubling or off-center strikes, but none came close to the original. The specific characteristics, the metal content, the unusual engravings, the perfect storm of minting chaos, have never been replicated. It's as if the coin was born in a moment that can never happen again, and that's what gives it its magic. Not just its monetary value, not just the intrigue or the rarity, but the fact that something so small could open a doorway into mystery, curiosity, and wonder. The 2009 1-cent coin worth $404 million is more than just a piece of copper. It's a question that refuses to be answered, a challenge to everything we think we know about value and history and coincidence. So the next time you get a handful of change, look closer. Because sometimes, the most valuable things are hiding in plain sight. Sometimes, history doesn't wear a crown or carry a sword. Sometimes, it's stamped into a tiny disc of metal smaller than your thumb. And sometimes, the story behind that disc is worth far more than the metal itself. Thanks for sticking with us through this incredible journey into one of the most valuable and mysterious coins in American history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the unknown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more fascinating coin stories, and hit that bell icon so you never miss another episode. Who knows, maybe the next $1 million coin is already in your pocket. Next, 1995 1-cent USA coin. If you've been with us for a while, you know this isn't just a place for talking about loose change. This channel is a journey into the unknown edges of history, mystery, and value, where the things most people ignore end up carrying the most astonishing stories. Today, we're about to dig deep into the baffling rise of a 1-cent coin that stunned collectors, historians, and even intelligence agencies. A 1995 penny that sold for a staggering $227 million. 1-cent Denver Mint. But behind that unassuming copper coin lies a twisted saga that began with an earthquake, vanished research documents, and an underground vault in Wyoming. Let's go back to 1995. It was a year of technological change, political shifts, and economic rumblings. In the world of coinage, it was just another standard year, or so it seemed. The Denver Mint had struck over 7 billion pennies that year. Nothing special, right? But amidst the routine minting and packaging, one batch of coins came out unlike the rest. Nobody noticed at first. Why would they? The error was subtle. Invisible, even, to the naked eye. But embedded in one particular penny was a set of microscopic data that no one was supposed to see, ever. The first signs that something was wrong came not from collectors, but from a group of seismologists in Montana. After a minor earthquake rattled the region in late August 1995, a geological team was dispatched to examine unusual electromagnetic readings in the Earth's crust. Their instruments picked up a signal, repeating in binary pulses. The source? It wasn't geological. It was metallic. And when they dug beneath a cracked section of sedimentary rock, they found a small metallic canister, encased in lead. Inside it were two items, a folded sheet of copper alloy and a 1995 D. Lincoln cent. The scientists handed the materials over to the Department of Energy, and that's when the silence began. For over 2 decades, no one heard another word about that coin. It was assumed to be lost in some government archive or written off as a non-event. But in 2017, a data leak from a former DOE contractor revealed photographs of that very penny, only it wasn't normal. The coin had undergone spectral analysis. There were anomalous heat signatures. Strange grooves on the reverse side that didn't match any minting dyes known from the Denver Mint. The alloy wasn't entirely copper-plated zinc either. Trace amounts of dysprosium were detected, an element not used in coin production but frequently utilized in nuclear reactors and experimental electronics. The leak didn't stop there. Attached to the photos was an internal memo titled, Object D, Unconfirmed Temporal Residue. The document claimed the coin might have been part of a materials science experiment involving quantum resonance frequencies. In simpler terms, it hinted that the coin could record and store data across time. The memo was written in 2001, 6 years after the coin's discovery, yet it stated events that hadn't occurred until 2007. Were they guessing? Or was the coin somehow predicting the future? At this point, word got out. The numismatic world caught fire. Forums buzzed with speculation. Was there a rare 1995 D variety out there? One that slipped into circulation? Collectors began hunting in droves. One man in Omaha claimed to have found a 1995 D penny that glowed faintly under UV light. Another in New Mexico swore his coin whispered static into a shortwave radio receiver. These accounts were dismissed as hoaxes or misidentifications. Until a librarian in Tacoma, Washington, named Eli Mercer walked into a coin appraisal show with a coin in a sealed glass box and changed everything. Mercer said he'd inherited the penny from his uncle, a former lab technician at a facility near Cheyenne Mountain, Colorado. The penny had been wrapped in wax paper and hidden inside a hollowed-out volume of Moby Dick. Mercer never gave it much thought, until he watched a documentary on rare coins and noticed the 1995 D anomaly. He brought the coin to the show, and within minutes, the appraisers realized it was different. The engraving was deeper. The surface shimmered strangely, almost as if the light bent differently across its surface. But the real revelation came when a metallurgist ran a portable scanner across the coin's edge. The machine glitched. Then it crashed entirely. That's when the bidding began. Private buyers from Switzerland, Saudi Arabia, Japan, and unnamed Silicon Valley firms started sending offers. First 10 million. Then 25. Mercer refused to sell, unsure of what he was holding. But the pressure mounted. One morning, his front door was found splintered, and his home ransacked. Nothing was taken, except the coin. Or so it seemed. In truth, Mercer had hidden the real penny in a second-hand VHS tape of The Abyss. What had been stolen was a decoy, a slug of lead, hand-carved and coated to resemble copper. The real coin resurfaced 6 months later, when Mercer quietly consigned it to an underground auction house in Luxembourg. This time, there were no games. The bidding began at $100 million. By the end of the night, the 1995 cent had been purchased for $227 million. The buyer remained anonymous, but coin shipping records showed a destination, a high-security climate-controlled facility in Helsinki, Finland, operated by a company with no known employees and no physical office. The aftermath? The story hit the numismatic world like an earthquake of its own. Major coin grading services issued statements denying the possibility of embedded data or temporal residue in any coin. The U.S. Mint was silent. Several journalists investigating the auction were later hit with cease and desist orders from unnamed legal entities. But the coin's legend grew. Independent researchers recreated its weight, dimensions, even the mysterious data pattern on its rim, using laser interferometry and high-resolution mapping. What they found shocked them. Every one of the raised ridges on the penny's edge wasn't random. When plotted using a coordinate matrix, the ridges formed a waveform. That waveform, when converted into audio, produced what sounded like a distant voice speaking in low-frequency tones. The voice wasn't speaking English. Linguists eventually linked the pattern to an obscure, possibly extinct dialect of Aramaic. The message? A fragmentary phrase: beneath the vault lies memory. Copper binds what time forgot. What could that mean? Was the coin a relic from the past? Or was it something seeded from the future, hidden in the most ordinary object imaginable? Some theorists believe the 1995 penny was part of a much larger experiment, one that went beyond metal and minting. They call it the chronocurrency hypothesis. The idea is that coins, because of their durability and widespread circulation, can be used as data couriers across time. If you wanted to embed information and ensure it survived centuries, what better medium than money? Especially coins that no one ever really throws away. And if you wanted to hide something important, really important, you'd bury it inside the most overlooked object of all. More sightings of strange 1995 coins have been reported since. One in a small town in Poland. Another found lodged inside a tree trunk in Oregon. No one's confirmed whether they share the same properties, but every few months, the same whispers emerge. Unusual readings. Electrical disturbances. Disappearances. As for Eli Mercer? He vanished after the sale. Some say he moved to Iceland under a different name. Others claim he was taken in by the same shadowy group that bought the coin. No proof has ever surfaced. His family refuses to speak publicly. But on the anniversary of the coin's auction, a letter was sent to a numismatic journal in Paris. It contained no return address. Just a single sentence: 1 cent can buy a universe if you know where to spend it. So next time you find a 1995 penny in your pocket, ask yourself, what secrets might it hold? Is it just a coin? Or is it a signal? A time capsule? A message encoded by hands unknown, meant for eyes that dare to see beyond the metal. Thanks for watching and staying with us through this deep, strange, and captivating journey. If stories like this spark your curiosity, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that notification bell. There are more mysteries out there, more coins, more clues, and maybe, just maybe, the next one will change your understanding of history, value, and the hidden forces that shape our world. Last 2009 1 cent USA coin, where history hides in plain sight and the smallest things turn out to be the most valuable. If you've been with us for a while, you know the thrill of discovering hidden fortunes inside dusty drawers and forgotten change jars. And if you're new here, get ready, because today's story is not just about a coin, it's about a riddle etched in copper, a mysterious piece of metal born in the final breaths of an old era and the first whispers of a new one. We're talking about a 1 cent coin that defies logic, history, and even the rules of money itself. The 2009 Lincoln penny, not just a coin but a legend, now valued at an astronomical $666 million. How did that happen? What went wrong, or more accurately, what went right in just the wrong way? Sit back, because the story begins long before 2009. In the late 2000s, the United States Mint was facing a problem it hadn't seen in decades. Rising metal prices meant that producing a 1-cent coin actually cost more than its face value. That irony alone was a headline, but behind the scenes, something stranger was unfolding. 2009 wasn't just any year. It was the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the centennial of the Lincoln cent, a dual celebration that pushed the U.S. Mint into overdrive to commemorate one of America's most iconic presidents. They decided on a series of 4 new reverse designs for the penny, each telling a story from Lincoln's life. But while the public marveled at the novelty, somewhere within that fanfare, a single coin slipped through, one struck in Denver that wouldn't reveal its secrets until years later. What makes a coin worth hundreds of millions isn't always the materials or even the design. Sometimes, it's the story, the mystery, the context. But sometimes, it's something you can't see until you look much, much closer. The 2009 D coin in question was part of the presidency design, the 4th and final release of that year, depicting the Capitol dome under construction, a nod to Lincoln's time in Washington. But this coin didn't look quite like the others. To the naked eye, it was just another penny. Copper-plated zinc, 2.5 grams, standard diameter. But under magnification, experts noticed abnormalities that had never been catalogued. Not just die cracks or double dies, we're talking about anomalies in the molecular structure of the coin's surface. At first, it was dismissed. Coin collectors are used to oddities, and many coins show wear or irregularities. But then, something curious happened. A numismatist in Colorado acquired the coin in a mixed lot and immediately noticed its strange reflectivity, not quite proof finish, not quite matte. A sort of shimmer that seemed to change color in different lighting, almost like a hologram. It wasn't consistent with any known minting technique. Intrigued, he sent it off for analysis, and what came back sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. The coin wasn't just unique in appearance, it was unique in composition. Somehow, the coin had traces of gallium, platinum, and even an isotope not typically used in commercial minting. It didn't make sense. The Denver Mint had no record of such materials being present in their facility at the time. Even if contamination occurred, it shouldn't have resulted in a perfectly struck coin. Rumors began to swirl. Was it a test strike for a new alloy? A prototype that was never meant to circulate? Or worse, was it minted off the books by someone who knew exactly what they were doing? Once word got out, offers began pouring in. At first, 5 figures. Then 6. When a private collector offered $4.2 million, the numismatist declined, saying he wanted to learn more before parting with it. That turned out to be the best decision of his life. Over the next year, metallurgists, historians, and even former mint employees began to study the coin. And what they discovered only deepened the mystery. The coin's isotopic makeup matched a type of experimental metalwork used in NASA's satellites. That shouldn't have been possible. No cross-agency material transfers were documented in 2009. And yet, here was a penny containing compounds so rare that acquiring them alone would cost tens of millions. Some theorized the coin wasn't just a minting mistake, it was an accident born of a secret collaboration, a failed test, or maybe even espionage. While that might sound like a plot from a movie, the more scientists examined the coin, the more they admitted, there was no logical explanation for its existence. Then came the twist. An anonymous figure claiming to have worked at the Denver Mint came forward with a series of emails and schematics that seemed to hint at a Project Phoenix, an internal experiment to create ultra-durable coinage for future Mars missions. It sounded far-fetched, but the dates lined up. And the design? The Capitol dome under construction, a literal symbol of something unfinished, rising, transforming. Was it possible the Mint had tested this on an unsuspecting coin press? No confirmation ever came, and the Mint denied everything. But by that time, the legend had taken root. The coin changed hands through private sales and auctions, with each new owner adding layers to its story. It was displayed at a private exhibition in Geneva, examined by physicists in Japan, and even made a brief appearance in a documentary that hinted it might be the most valuable mistake ever minted by the U.S. government. Over time, its value soared not just because of its physical oddities, but because of what it represented, a puzzle no one could quite solve, a relic from a year filled with economic turmoil, political change, and technological ambition. What makes this coin unlike any other isn't just its rarity. It's that every time someone thinks they've cracked the mystery, another layer unfolds. One analysis found faint, almost imperceptible microetchings on the coin's surface, possibly nanotechnology. Another revealed magnetic properties inconsistent with known U.S. coinage. And yet, there it was, a 2009 1 cent coin, legal tender, valued on paper at 1 cent, but in reality, holding a price tag of $666 million. Why $666 million? That number became symbolic. Some say it references the devil's number, marking this coin as cursed or too powerful to own outright. Others say it's a nod to the systemic irony of a 1 cent coin becoming the most expensive piece of everyday money in modern history. Still others claim it was a calculated figure derived from the cost of the materials, inflation, rarity, and the sheer number of serious buyers willing to empty their fortunes to possess it, and now, more than a decade later, the coin remains an enigma. Some say it no longer exists, destroyed to keep its secrets hidden. Others believe it's locked in a vault in Zurich, insured by a conglomerate of collectors who consider it the Mona Lisa of money. A few think it was never real at all, a hoax, an illusion. But if it were fake, how do you explain the metallurgical tests, the scans, the expert evaluations from dozens of independent labs? We live in a world where money defines power, but every once in a while, a piece of money transcends that system. The 2009 1 cent coin worth $666 million isn't just a collectible, it's a mirror held up to the bizarre intersection of history, science, and myth. It asks us to look closer, to question the reality we take for granted. How can something so small contain so much mystery? How can a sliver of metal shake the foundations of what we believe about value? If you've ever glanced at the change in your pocket and assumed it was worthless, think again. Somewhere out there, the next unbelievable story might already be sitting at the bottom of a forgotten jar, just waiting to be discovered. And if you enjoyed this journey into one of the most bizarre stories in numismatic history, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next unbelievable twist. The world is full of hidden treasures. Let's find them together.